Hi, it's Matt from Go Green Auto. So this video is about what you do if you get water coming in your car, and obviously here we've got a Renault Zoe. This problem actually happens with all Renaults, not just the Zoe electric car. But if you find you have got water coming inside the car, and where you'll probably see it first is in the passenger footwell. So if it's damp down in there, as this car is, then what it probably is your drain holes are blocked here at the bottom of the windscreen. So this car, as you can see now, is covered in ice. But this problem happens at this time of year. Well, actually the autumn. So it's worse if you park your car under trees or near hedgerows, and what you'll find is in the autumn the trees will shed their leaves and seeds, and it gets down here in the gullies, and then later on in the year when it gets a bit wetter, you'll find when it rains that the water isn't being expelled down through the drain holes, which are on either sides of the car, and normally the water will run down a gully here and then come out in the wheel arches. But if it's blocked, then there's a tray that runs underneath the bottom of the windscreen, and that's only less than an inch deep, and that then fills with water, and when that overflows it then runs inside the car behind the dashboard and ends up in the passenger footwells. So this car has come in because it needs fixing, and I thought while I'm doing it I will film it and make this video so you can fix this problem yourself. What you're going to want to do is hoover up as much of that water as you can, if you've got a wet and dry hoover, of course. I'm going to do that now, and I'm also then going to leave a dehumidifier running inside the car for as long as it's here, certainly for a day and a night, and that will just get rid of any moisture that's in the car and stop any mould growing over the winter period. The thing you also want to do is just check that all the rubber gullies are clear, because on the Zoes these have a habit of filling up with rubbish. So another thing you want to do is just go around the whole car and just make sure that all the drain channels on the car are clear of muck and rotting debris. So what we've got to do next is get this lot off, but before I go any further I'm going to get rid of all this snow and ice. Got the fire on now because it's so cold here in the workshop today, so that's why there's a bit of an orange glow over the car now. So next we've got to take the wiper arms off, and at this point it's a good idea to take a photograph of the wiper arms and the position of the two wiper blades, because then that will help you align them back up when you go to put it back together, because it's quite easy to forget the angle that this blade needs to sit at. Basically the arm goes along the bottom of the screen, but because they're an unusual angle, it's a good idea to take that picture so you've got that to refer back to. So next you've got to take these caps off the nuts that hold the wiper arms off. Ideally use a plastic tool to whip them off. They are just a push-on cap like that. And then you've got to take the nuts off that hold the wiper arms on, and you need, I think it's 16mm, I can't quite see the writing now in this light. Yeah, 16mm socket or spanner, and whip the two nuts off. So next you've got to pull the wiper arms off the splines. You can do it with a lever, you could do it with the screwdrivers, but you want something flatter like a tyre lever or a flat bar, because you end up pushing against this plastic trim. You've also got to be careful because you could put too much force on the windscreen. You don't want to break that. But I've done many of these just with levers, but even better, this tool really does make the job really simple, and you could whip them off in seconds. That's a proper windscreen wiper arm pulling tool, and you can buy these online, or you can buy them from Halfords for about £12–13, something like that. So if you're struggling you could nip out and buy one of those. So next you've got to take out 4 plastic clips, 2 on either side just there, and they're just those 2-part ones where you pull the top up and then you can pull the whole thing out, and then pull off this rubber seal all the way round, and then you can whip this out, and this is held on by these clips all the way along the front. You just got to be a bit careful in cold weather that you don't break plastic, because it does all get rather brittle. And then this is your tray that fills up with water. So basically you've got to feel in here, and you'll feel just there where there is a drain plug, and in this case it is absolutely full to the top with debris. And there's another corresponding one on this side. Let me just shine the torch down in there, and I don't know whether you can see that, but there is standing water in there because that plug is blocked as well. So now it's just a case of getting in there and getting those plugs unblocked. So you could use a wire. In this case I'm going to get a wet vacuum cleaner in there, suck all the water out, suck as much debris out as I can, and then I might get the air line down there and blow what I can through. And then when you're done, you're going to want to pour more water in there with a watering can, and just to make sure that water just runs out properly and drains out into the wheel arch down there. The key thing is obviously you don't want any standing water down in there, because that's when water starts getting inside the cabin, because when you go around a corner or you accelerate, the water will then get inside and start running down into the footwell. So that wants to be completely free of water, and all that water wants to be draining out. So I've hoovered all the water out, and I can now see where the drain hole is, and it's a bit of a sort of metal tube that sticks up about 8mm. I'm not sure whether there's meant to be a rubber bung on the top. Often there is. Certainly in the Renault Kangoo you get these. I'm sure these were meant to have them as well, but what you find is a lot of Renault dealers will throw them away. They will do this job and they will just throw those rubber bungs away because they actually don't help. I'm not sure what they're designed for. I think possibly they got sort of like a one-way flap in there, so maybe they do help with road noise a little bit, but usually you find they've been thrown away, and in this case they're not fitted. But if I stick my finger down in that metal tube, there is still loads of gunk there to get out. So that's what you've got to do. Clean them out both sides. Also give all of this a good vacuum all the way along, particularly in the middle here. There's some electrical connectors. Just any dirt and rubbish you can find, just clean all the area, because the cleaner that is, the longer it's going to last. And the way I've made sure this is now unblocked is I've pushed a bit of hose down there, got a funnel on the end, tipped water down here, and just make sure it's all running freely down there around the wheel. And then the final check, just get water in there, make sure that's running down there, and yeah, it's all running nicely down there out of the car. It's also worth, while you're in here, getting all the water out from the top of the shock absorber there, because you don't want water pooling in there and rotting that out over time. But anyway, that one's done. Now this side, and this side is very much more difficult because you've got the wiper arm mechanism in the way, and it's a right pain to get to this side. But anyway, I'm going to have a go at this one now. Actually, it's not that difficult to get the wiper mechanism out. What you've got to do is take the bolts out here and there and get rid of this corner piece. You've got to also loosen off this, so you can just wiggle this a little bit, and then this has got an electrical connector down there, but at least you can get that out of the way. And then there's a bolt down there. These are all 10mm bolts. There's a bolt down there, there's a bolt at the back there next to the motor. You will need a long extension to get to that, and then by removing this plastic you can get to that bolt there, again a 10mm one, and that then loosens all of this mechanism, and you can just slide this out of the way to get your hand in there to make a huge difference. So it is worth doing this bit of extra work just to get that wiper mechanism out of the way. And then with that wiper arm out the way, you can get in there a little bit easier. Let's just get some extra light down there, and then you can see that black plastic there. That's a black plastic trough, and just like before, it is full of mud. So if I just shine that down in there, you can see that plastic trough, and the hole is at the far end on the right hand side, the near side. So one other thing to be wary of, that plastic cup, as it were, which is the drain plug, just be careful you don't push that through. If you do, it will disappear out of the metal tray that it's held into, and you'll be able to see it there at the back of the motor behind the brake fluid reservoir here. If you have done that, and I've done exactly that, the way to get to it is you've got to take the inner wheel arch liner out, and then you can get to it up in this void here behind your spring, which actually it was a good job that I did take it out. And this is what it is. So it's this little I don't know what you call that, like a funnel, and that's sitting like that. So the bit you see in here is just this top little bit, and this is where the water runs in these two holes at the side. And in this case it was still full of mud. This was running, not freely, but the water was running, but you can see there it's still packed with mud in there. So I'm quite glad that I have had to do this extra work and take this out, because I can properly clean this out now. This is sort of soft rubber, but it's a very cold day today, so everything's quite hard. But yeah, it sits on that sealing ring there like that, and then all that's doing, of course, is just funneling the water out into the footwell here, and it runs down the inside of your plastic wheel arch liner. And what you find is there'll be lots of debris down here. This is a sort of foam packer here, covered in plastic, black plastic, and down this bottom corner there'll be lots of dirt, because obviously it's all running down here and draining out there. So it's a good opportunity to give this a good vacuum out, clean it all. So yeah, I was quite pleased that one ended up coming out. So if you've got that out and you need to get it back in, then it's quite easy to access that location from up under here in the footwell behind the spring. And you can see there's the hole that this mounts up into, so you can get it past this hose and pop that in up there. So yeah, I was quite pleased actually that I did end up taking that out. It's nice and clean now. It's a much better job, and actually now I can see that these don't have the rubber bungs on top like many of the other Renaults do. Certainly the Kangoo ZE has the bungs, but yeah, these don't, because this is your little flap here, which actually, as you can tell, doesn't seal. It's not doing an awful lot anyway. But anyway, there we go. Hope that helps. Obviously get that one clear as well. Again, pour water down there to make sure it's all running nice and freely before you start putting it back together. And obviously putting it back together is exactly the reverse of what I've shown you. Get the wiper arms back on, job done, and that should be good for a few years, hopefully. If you found this video useful and you've liked it, please do click the thumbs up on YouTube, because that really does help other people find these videos and find this YouTube channel. And do subscribe if you haven't, and there's plenty of back catalogue of EV videos on the channel, and more coming soon.